Kevin Can F Himself, set in Worcester, Massachusetts. In traditional sitcoms like All in the Family, the main male character made life a living hell for everyone around him, especially for his long-suffering wife Edith. For full details about Kevin Can F Himself, and how it's based on Kevin Can Wait and all of the different chaos and everything else that went behind that, then you could take a look at the Worcester Mass Info website. But what I'm going to be talking about here is how this show is based in Worcester and all the callouts it has to Worcester, Massachusetts. You would think that a show set in Worcester would have even a few shots shot in Worcester. And this scene looks pretty much like Worcester. It's got the triple deckers and the houses with the traditional colors that we find around here, but none of this is shot anywhere near Worcester. I suppose you could say at least they shot this in Massachusetts. You know, there's so many shows that get shot in Canada or Washington State or all these other places, but it's still over an hour away, further east, completely different city, completely different location. And not only are the house scenes shot in Nason Street in Brockton, but even all of the basic stuff like Dunkin' Donuts and all of these other scenes that could easily have been set in Worcester. There's all sorts of cool places in Worcester like Union Station, and they didn't use any of them. They shot everything way over in Brockton and other locations in that area.
I just stepped on a very large roach.
Oh, no. Did you kill it? Worcester Harvest Fair has a contest for biggest vermin.
Now, I've lived in Worcester for over 30 years, and I have never heard of the Worcester Harvest Fair. I had to Google it, and I found it was a tiny little festival that one particular church has held a couple times. But why didn't they go with something that people in Worcester actually all know about? You know, like something happening at Ralph's Diner or whatever. This is Union Station decorated for the Harvest Festival. You get to send out something at Union Station. Leads me to Worcester Books. There are so many amazing bookstores like Auntie's Books in Worcester. Why would you go with something generic like Worcester's Books? Yes, we know it's in Worcester. Make it a Worcester's Barber Saloon, and then go back to having a nice normal bookstore. And of course they have Dunkin's, and you'd say, hey, this is great. They should have the Dunkin' scene set in Worcester. We have Dunkin' Donuts in Worcester that people love. But no, this is not in Worcester either. Alright, next up our main character is looking at houses in Grafton, in Millbury, in West Boylston, and all sorts of other local places, but he becomes obsessed with a house in Amherst. Let's look at this map. Worcester's in the middle, and these other houses she's looking at, West Boylston and Millbury and so on, are right centered around Worcester, so these are places that she'd know and she could still get to her friends and get to all of her favorite places. Amherst is over an hour off to the west. And it's not somewhere that a person would generally randomly think about going, oh, I'm not quite sure about Millbury, but oh, let's move to Amherst instead. So it's a little strange that she decides on Amherst and that it doesn't even become like a point of why would she want to go to Amherst. She just says, oh, I'm looking at houses in the area and let's go out to Amherst because that looks like a nice house. We're at her place of business, Deftos Beer and Wine, which is not in Worcester, but look, the trash can. I'm actually pretty impressed. If we zoom in on this trash can, it does actually say Beautify Worcester with the Worcester seal on it, which is a nice seal that is easily recognizable for people around Worcester. So I do appreciate that they actually made an attempt here to do something that's reasonably appropriate for Worcester. This is sort of a cheating scene because they just stuck up a Boston Celtics sign over on the far right. But I did want to comment that, you know, besides this whole Boston Celtics / Red Sox kind of stuff that's going on here, I really like the picture that they have hanging in the background. And then that is a nice traditional New England kind of scene that I have, many of my friends have paintings like this in their different rooms. So kudos to them for getting a nice piece of art in here that actually does represent the Worcester area a little bit. Alright, so Worcester is where the Worcester Lunch Car Diner Company existed. That's the building on the left, and we're coming up here on the right at one of their showcases. This is the Miss Worcester Diner. Worcester is famous for diners. We have amazing diners here, and they are world famous. But with all of our famous diners all over Worcester, this is what they decided to do when representing a Worcester diner.
Market research shows people in New England like diners where they think a white lady cooks the food.
Doesn't market research also show that Worcester's not the best place to open a yuppie diner?
You'd be surprised. Worcester's an up-and-coming city.
No, it's not.
No, it's not.
Oh.
Next up, they're going to talk about Kelly Square. Kelly Square used to be an absolute nightmare, and I was petrified of going anywhere near Kelly Square. They have actually redone it now, so Kelly Square is more like a peanut shape, and in this peanut shape it is much easier to work around the different intersections. So that has made a huge improvement, and this did take a lot of work for them to get through the whole Kelly Square redo. So I appreciated them mentioning Kelly Square in here.
So what I missed the last 15 years?
In Worcester? Oh, there were like 3 new traffic plans for Kelly Square that you missed out on. So, condolences.
I must be crazy coming back here.
Yeah.
One of the many cool places in Worcester is Coney Island hot dogs. Have delicious hot dogs and other things. And here, if we're coming around on the right-hand side, you can see on the right the building with that beautiful mural. On the right, you can see the big Coney Island sign, and it lights up at night. So this is definitely one of the mainstays in Worcester. So it's pretty cool in this next scene that someone is actually wearing a Coney Island hot dog t-shirt. So it's just a little thing, but you can see there on his shirt it says Coney Island hot dogs and George's. And I've got some friends who are artists who love painting the sign and painting the building because it's just so iconic. So it's a fun, small call out to Worcester. You know, I like details like this, where it actually shows that they know something about Worcester and they're making an effort rather than just having Red Sox signs and Celtic signs and that sort of stuff. This is a minor scene, but she's getting herself drunk, and if you look at the other beer that's in the area, they are all actual local beers, so I appreciate them putting that effort in. So then at the final scene, he's wearing a Worcester Hot Dog Safari t-shirt, and my boyfriend's in the band, and he's actually played at the Worcester Hot Dog Safari, which is a really fun event, so it's well worth going to. Another one of those Worcester classics. So again, this is something that I appreciate, that they're actually showcasing something that's fun in Worcester, that's special to Worcester, and that brings a bit of the local character to the show. Alright, so there are my thoughts on Kevin Can F Himself, Episode 1, Season 1, set in Worcester, but not anywhere even remotely filmed in Worcester. They could have just done like a little shot of the Turtle Boy statue, of Union Station, or all the other kinds of fun things that we have here in Worcester. And yes, I really appreciate that they have the Hot Dog Safari t-shirt and the Coney Island t-shirt and stuff, but those are tiny little things when it wouldn't have taken them much effort at all to send just a person with a video camera to go get some shots of Worcester, even just as filler shots. So I find it pretty depressing that they didn't get even tiny little shots set in Worcester. We'll have to see what the next episodes have in store for us. Let me know if you have any questions.